right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 27th, 2023 meeting of the Grafton, Massachusetts Accessibility Advisory Commission. I'm Rob Polsinelli, somehow tricked into being chair of this commission, and I call this meeting to order. As a preliminary matter, please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. When I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Alexis Henry.
Yes, I can hear you, but I'm here.
Perfect. Catherine Dorr.
I am present.
Christy Proctor.
Yes.
Roger Trahan.
I'm here.
And Rob Polsinelli is here as well. All right. Paul, my friend, we'll get to this one second. So I'm sure the rest of you can see Paul Latorno is on today. He has been approved by the select board as a new committee member or commission member for our commission, which is very exciting. Unfortunately, we have not been able to get him sworn in yet. So he is not a full-fledged member. So he has chosen to basically listen in tonight. He's again, and I said it earlier on the phone to him, but Paul, you're invited to speak if you wish at any point. But I know he was planning on just sort of taking it all in. I think just getting a handle on what we do, how we talk, how we work. So I certainly want to welcome him aboard. Really, really thank him for volunteering and stepping forward. I know Roger helped, I think, push him. So Roger, thank you for that as well.
Yeah, and Paul has, we had discussed things in the past as far as, you know, if a vacancy came up and now was the right time. And I'm psyched to have Paul aboard as a lifetime Grafton resident and having worked with him on the board of Genesis Club. So
very, very good. So I have had the pleasure to meet him already. He's a great guy. I think he's going to be a great addition. So I am really excited about that. And sorry for sort of jumping ahead, but I wanted to say that because I'm going to skip reading the introduction to remote meetings since the rest of us who are present here already know all the rigmarole. So Paul, if you want, at some point we can go through all that. We're just going to skip it for tonight. So getting into announcements first. So again, we just covered that Paul has been added to our commission, and I'm sure that by next meeting he'll be sworn in and full-fledged member. Something that I have on here more as a placeholder, but I was hoping Roger might be able to help me for clarification. We do an annual certificate of reorganization for the town that we'll send off to the town clerk. I'm going to populate that and send it in. It does contain columns for everybody's email address, phone number, and address. And I just wanted to confirm, do we typically populate all of those fields for everyone, Roger, or do we just?
Yeah, in other words, it's more for the clerk as an internal document. It doesn't get posted on any website.
Oh, they made it sound like it could be. And that was part of the reason I was actually asking.
No, I haven't been, I have not heard any news as to any plans for the listed committee members to have further contact information than is already on the particular web page regarding like our general mailbox.
Sure. Perfect. All right. So in your estimation, then if we left off people's addresses, if they didn't want to include those, it wouldn't be a big deal.
No, because we're all registered voters. So by default, the town clerk has our address by virtue of us being registered voters.
Perfect. Perfect. So good. So I'll fill that in and send it back in. And yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to that one, right, Roger?
Yeah. It's a very routine thing.
Perfect. And I will make sure that Paul is officially sworn in and part of the commission on paper, full-fledged before I send that in as well, just so we have the full accounting. So good. Moving on. July 26th, which is yesterday, was the 33rd anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which is absolutely incredible. It's thinking about like how long it actually has been around. It doesn't necessarily feel like it in some ways, but 33 years is a decent chunk of time. Basically, like my adult life, it has already been around and has been enacted. And I know at the beginning it was really a lot more sort of focused on the physical disabilities and creating access through that, but it really has expanded and changed and grown, I think, significantly over the past 33 years. And it certainly keeps us all busy here. So it's just very exciting, good to note it. And I don't know if anyone else had any other comments or thoughts on the anniversary, but
yeah, I had put something on my own Facebook wall, as well as the Facebook wall of Grafton Rise, and my own Instagram account, noting the anniversary, and also I was looking on the various actually not websites, actually I think it was on Instagram. Many different cities and towns actually made a big deal of this, as they should, including Boston, because I guess it was a City Hall Plaza. There's some big space that is now recently been made fully accessible, and I forget the mayor of Boston. Boston's name.
Mayor Wu.
Michelle Wu.
Yes, and the mayor made a lot of there was speeches, and it was a big to do because it was held yesterday, and it was held on that newly renovated, fully accessible space.
So
Really cool.
Boston was the site of the first Disability Pride Parade 33 years ago. So they have
okay.
history here in Boston that we have some good credit on that, because everything else, of course, happened on the West Coast out of Berkeley. But we have the first Pride Parade for disability from all those years ago in 1990.
Awesome.
Didn't wait around. That is awesome. Very, very cool. And then on a related note, July is also National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. And just that, I don't know, it's something we certainly haven't talked much about here, but something I thought it was worth mentioning, getting into our minutes at the very least. But, people from historically, racial or cultural minority groups have typically different outcomes and different access to services than, folks from sort of the majority classes. So the impacts on them are definitely and demonstrably different. So again, without getting into a huge detail, because I know that's not our specialty, but I thought it was really neat that they actually have set aside this month to sort of highlight that a little bit, and just added a link in there to the HHS website, where they do have some more information on it for anyone who might be interested in reading up a little bit more on it. But yeah, I just thought that was really something of significance and great to note in there.
And there was, Mr. Chair, there was, I don't think it was 22, I think it was 21. There was part of the annual meeting of the Mass Office on Disability on this very topic, not recognizing the particular month, but minority outcomes for those with disability. And I'm not sure if it's still a live link, but all of those PowerPoints and links, at least at that time, the video, were available. I hope they haven't taken them down. So
up on the MOD website.
Yes, yeah. So is it October is the annual meeting? I forget, but I think it was 2021, not last year.
Okay, makes sense. Very cool. Very, very cool. So on the other announcements, Roger and I spoke earlier, but he let me know Adam Lapointe has been hired to replace Jen Anderson as the new rec department director for town. So
excuse me, Mr. Chair, can you please spell that name?
I can, but I'm guessing at it.
Okay, go ahead, start.
I believe, so Adam, first name, last name is Lapointe, Lapointe.
That's what I was curious. Okay.
I think that's correct. Roger, do you have any?
Yes, it hadn't, his name has an E at the end, Lapointe, yes.
Perfect. So we don't have, I guess, a ton of information. I don't even know too if has his start date occurred already, or has the announcement just been made?
The announcement was presumably made. I know it was on this week's select board agenda.
Okay.
For our town administrator to announce that he had been appointed, but I don't know if he started yet.
Okay. Very cool. And then also there is a new assistant town clerk that will be starting or has started, and a new veterans agent, specifically within Grafton. This is a position where historically it was a regionalized position, but they've changed the sort of the format of how they're operating now. So we have a specific agent just for Grafton, which is awesome too. So lots of new people that we will definitely have interfacing with as we continue our work and get into, as they get into their jobs and get started. So that is what I had for announcements. Did anyone else have any additional announcements? 3 times lady. Perfect. All right. External correspondence. I did not have any that I was aware of, but Roger, I actually have to check with you too on where we check our mail.
It's the only place that still has Disability Commission listed. It is the right-hand cubby area to the right of the town clerk's office is always an open door where a photocopier is.
Yep.
And along the back wall is an inaccessible space. You have to reach up. It's overhead, and there's a little box that says Disability Commission. That sometimes is where junk mail occurs. The real stuff is typically, if it's from like William Joyce or Mike Kennedy or someone
Yep.
like that, it is typically emailed to us.
Perfect.
But it's always a good thing to take a look. And anytime I have wanted to save myself a drive down to town hall, I've called the clerk's office and they've taken a
Oh,
peek.
that's very nice.
Just to let them know
Very nice.
it's still on the Disability Commission, but it should be
Yep.
renamed there. So,
Incredibly helpful. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was just, hadn't even occurred to me to ask about that. I remembered you saying that there was a spot, but I wasn't sure where it was. So
yeah.
thank you. And we do have some correspondence from both Mr. Joyce and just lost his name,
Mr. Dugan.
Mike Dugan. Thank you. Yeah.
But so that is under.
But I'll say,
that-
yeah, but that'll come exactly.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So my friend Christy,
Yes.
do you mind pulling up our
Nope,
prior draft minutes?
Yep, I'm ready. Here we go. Let's see. Draft 6. Okay.
So Roger, do you not peruse them as closely now that you're not chair?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you not peruse these as closely now that you're
Oh,
not
I
chair anymore?
perused these just an hour ago, so it's actually more fresh in my head. And
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, just some minor edits, but we'll talk about them later.
I probably had the same. Yeah. So Christy, that H is back at the very top. I know
Yeah,
that's a
I
silly
got it
little-
out of the next one. Yeah, because it's just there for some reason. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. And I didn't even notice it at first. I was literally putting the packet back down and said, oh, look.
Yeah.
All right. So I didn't have anything until page 2.
Mr.
Oh.
Chair, I'll make a
Yeah.
motion first to.
To accept. Yep.
For us to approve the draft, the 6/15/23 minutes as drafted.
Motion made. Do we have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Oh, no, I'll let Alexa second.
I'll
Thank
second.
Motion is made and seconded. And do we have any conversation on the minutes before we vote on approval? And I'll go back to Roger.
I
Did
had-
you have anything on page 1?
Yeah, no, it was on page, it was actually on page 4, which is the
Okay.
agenda item 5, the subcommittee update, the last 3 lines of that here. And so it's really, maybe we can ask members of the Disability Committee, it should be on that last paragraph of 5.
Right
Maybe.
here.
The second sentence, maybe we can ask members of it says Disability Committee, really just say of our commission or Accessibility Advisory Commission or our commission, whatever.
And
But
that, and I was probably taking it word for word when I wrote that.
Okay,
And I guess my follow-up, and Alexis, I don't know if you remember better, were we asking specifically only about our commission? Or was it more about the disability community? Because the last sentence is talking about Mike Kennedy, not somebody on our
And
commission.
And that's the Center for
Oh.
Living and Working?
Yep.
All right, I don't remember.
Did I spell
Oh.
community wrong? Right, I could have,
Well, Alexis?
So,
Oh, it's
two
disability
things.
community. Oh,
Right.
okay.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
right, because I'm assuming, yes, because I'm assuming you all will review what we've done before we publish it.
Yeah,
And
that
I
goes without
wonder if
saying.
we can add that to our agenda for tonight, that discussion, once you all see what we've drafted.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I think that'd be a really good discussion to have.
Yeah.
And then Center for Living and Working on the last line.
then that all makes sense.
It's
Yeah,
Center
but
for
it's-
Living and Working, just
Yep.
so you know, not Center
I'm
for Work
sorry.
and Living.
That's true. I forgot. Thank you.
Living first, then work.
Right.
And Christy, I hate doing this. So Roger, did you have any others
No, that was it.
before I got off? So Christy, and I'm so sorry to do this, back on page 2, under
Yep.
item 2, it says this is citizens complaint. It should be a
Correct.
citizens complaint. Silly little. And then the other one, it was on page, I don't have them page numbered, under number 6. The paragraph that begins Neil Dixon. Do you see the right side? Do you see how that's all?
That's wild.
Yeah.
No, you know what that was from? That happened when all right, that
So like
somehow
a cut and
happened
paste.
when I put the word draft across it. I think
Oh.
what happened is that when I removed the draft,
It messed with the justification somehow.
Apparently,
Yes.
yeah.
Let me see
So
if I
and
can
it,
fix that.
yeah, normally I wouldn't care too much. I just want to make sure people weren't having a hard time reading it if they were looking back.
I
So
thought there were words missing when I read it this afternoon, and it was, no,
Oh.
it
yeah, it made
spaced
perfect
out.
sense. You just had to just sort of jump over.
Okay, but now I have a repeated, I'm trying to,
What is it, the band they're called the?
yeah. Is that?
Okay.
I guess that's
Think so. I'm not.
still doesn't look great, but let me just try one more justification. I apologize. Let me just check.
No.
There we go. Okay,
Yeah,
now
it's
it's
a little.
better.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And it
Thank you,
is
Christy.
the variance. You're welcome.
And again, sorry for that one. Yeah, like I said, it just. I had trouble when I came across it first. I was like, wait, what's this? But I think that was all that I had. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments about the minutes? All right. Hearing no further discussion. We get to vote. Yay, so exciting. Oh. Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me
No,
stop.
that's okay. That's okay. And Christy, I'm probably going to go out of order. I don't know how you have them listed on the
Oh,
page.
it doesn't matter.
I'm
I
just going
don't
off the
care.
screen. Okay. So, okay. So all those in favor of approving the minutes as currently drafted, Alexis Henry,
Yes, approved.
Catherine Dorr,
Aye.
Christy Proctor,
Aye.
Roger Trahan,
Aye.
and Rob Polsnelli, aye as well. There we go. The motion is carried with a vote of 5-0.
Right.
Perfect. Yay. I need a script for that, Roger. It's like the one thing I just cannot
You'll
get
get
down.
into it.
You can declare things. I declare the motion carried.
Declare the motion carried.
It's this
All
whole
right.
authoritarian thing, need a gavel. We
See,
need to get you a
yeah,
gavel,
it's just not my style. We're on agreement. We're good. All right. All right. Subcommittee update. Alexis, my friend, I'm happy to say as much as you'd like, but I know you actually put the last draft together. So I
Um,
will.
do you want me to share it or do
If
you
you-
want to
if-
share it?
If you have it up, I actually
I
don't
can-
have that up yet.
So it's
I
not
can
part of the
open
meeting
it
packet,
right
correct?
now.
Correct.
All right.
Say what?
No, I'd asked, it wasn't part of the meeting packet, no.
It was not.
Okay.
Okay, let me just see
And
how I,
did you meet once or twice last month or last?
So we actually met 2 times. The first time was more of the, I'll say sort of organizing our thoughts and getting together what the plan was. And we walked away with a plan to basically make these additions that we then got back together. The second time, Bob unfortunately was not able to attend.
Okay.
I guess I think you're keeping notes on who was there, but at that one, we were basically getting back together with the work each of us had done, and Alexis was kind enough to assimilate that all into one document, which is what she's pulling up right now. And I think with that, unless you want me to say anything else, Alexis, I'll turn it over to you to start walking through it.
sure. Okay, so we did a lot of brainstorming. I think Rob and I took very similar approach to the information that we pulled is like, we looked for the resource, we looked for a link and a very brief description. So I'll walk you through first the high level, and I've numbered them, and it's 1 through, it's in Roman numerals, so it's 1 through 10, 11, 12. There are 12 high level categories. Now, they're not perfect categories, but so once you all have a chance to look at it, you might think things should be arranged a little bit differently. But these are the high level categories, and they're bolded, with those Roman numerals. So think of them as the things that you're going to see initially on that sidebar on our
That looks
page.
right, yeah. Just
that category, and then you click and you drill down, right? So all this verbiage is obviously not going to fit in that little sidebar. And again, they're not perfect categories because there is overlap among the categories, but this is what we came up with. So I'll do the high level first and then maybe drill down within each category. Does that sound okay to everybody? So what we
Absolutely.
talked about is, so the topics we would show is, first it's ask the Accessibility Advisory Commission a question. Not sure who that question would go to. Rob, does it go to you? So if you have a question.
And well, I said, Roger, I don't know if you can clarify, but I think if anyone submits a question, they have the ability to do this already. It's like email the commission, I think, but it comes to the entire commission.
Well, way back, Mr. Chair, maybe Christy can jog my memory and Catherine too. We had sort of, I don't think we voted on it. We just kind of may have just by consensus agreed that the clerk would address any correspondence that came through the mailbox. And
I think I remember that being the agreement, yeah.
And then the other thing is that I don't know if this is universal. I know that, all right, for example, for library trustees, which I'm on, I know when I am a recipient of a group email. I don't know if, as I think now that when you emailed me or us, Rob, earlier tonight.
Yep, I just put the Disability Commission address.
All right, so I can see now that, so I'm a recipient, not individually, but as part of that group. So I then wouldn't reply and would assume, I guess, moving forward, that is it the chair, is it the clerk? I mean, we had agreed way back, this is in 2019 or 2020, that it would be the clerk. We really don't have bylaws to formalize that. So, it's 6 of one, half dozen of another for me. Sometimes I think we'd reorganize a few times. So I think what has happened is, because I would repeat my name and phone number and personal email at the end of each agenda, a lot of people got actually used to emailing me directly. So you never saw it as a commission unless I then subsequently shared it with you. So I don't think we've really had this discussion in about 3 years.
Yeah, I don't recall having it before.
I mean, it's sort of another path to connect with the commission through,
Mhm.
our sidebar, because people don't necessarily look at the agenda, don't have to pull up the agenda document, just if there's a text box, you click here and there's a text box, you ask a question and it goes. Whoever is receiving that, could then decide whether they're the best person to answer it, or they could, bring it to the commission, or, but it doesn't require, this then wouldn't require someone to actually open the documents, right? They would just, find it on our website.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
the other thing about this, about number one is right now there's various ways that when you create or revise an email address, there's a way to simply sync any new messages that go to the old address into the new address seamlessly. So, and I mentioned that because about a year ago, when we recommended the name change and the change in charge, there's a letter I have, I'll have to share it with the group. At that time, the select board, I don't think there was no action taken, and it was a letter that I had written as chair that was part of our subcommittee work that the commission voted on as a whole, to request the select board also make arrangements that the commission had voted to change the group email to accessibility@grafton.gov. At grafton-ma.gov, pardon. So instead of disability commission at grafton-ma.gov. So that's a sort of hanging chad that at some point, if we put disability commission at grafton-ma.gov, we may need to change it. So I will share that document with the rest of the group. It just sort of got swept under the rug about a year ago. I think it was last July. And the thing is too, is that it would need to be a link, because the word accessible is often misspelled as accessible, A-B-L-E, instead of I-B-L-E. So thus accessibility. So some people, even though it's a shorter name, may misspell it notwithstanding. But so Alexis, was it just to put our group email address, and then we're gonna go into
I guess,
decide?
I wonder if we're
Right.
getting, like, I think this is conceptual still. It's at a conceptual and sort of idea level, and the actual mechanism may be to be determined.
Okay.
I thought it was, ask the commission a question and you click, and then there's a text box and it will go to, or that's what I envisioned. It was like an open text box. I can type in my question and I hit send and it goes to whatever we decide is the right email for it to go to. So I wonder if we don't have to worry about that right now.
Okay.
The actual logistics and mechanism for it. This is conceptually, do we like the idea of having the first one is ask the commission a question,
All right.
rather than the actual logistics and the mechanism for how we make that happen.
Sure, that makes sense. And along those lines, though, from a format standpoint, and I don't know, Chrissy, if you and I had discussed this about screen readers not accurately reading Roman numerals at the web content.
Oh, wait.
accessibility.
Stop. No. Don't think, this is not this is just our own internal working document. We are not using Roman numerals. This is not.
Oh, okay. All right. So
No. This is not final content.
This will just be a list. So Roger,
Back up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This is
So
not
Roger,
final
Roger.
content. This is conceptual. These are the
Oh, all right.
ideas. Really, this is not,
So-
we're gonna have to do all of that. This is just the ideas we want to get out there, making sure that it's fully accessible. Yeah, Roman numerals, probably not. Don't
Right.
worry about that at all.
All
right. They'll just be, they'll
Get
just
the
be different
cart before the
lines.
horse here.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What I think.
I know Roman numerals. I went to Catholic school. They drill those. I had a Roman numeral wristwatch.
I had to is that the right one? Once you start doing it, Word just does it for you automatically.
Yeah.
you know, the Roman numerals, the ABC, all of that, don't worry about
Yes.
that kind of stuff
Gotcha.
at all. This is really for all of you to look at the content and say, yeah, this is right.
This is the
not,
information we
this is
want.
Too much, we're missing something. That's what
This
we're looking
looks,
for right
I'll
now.
tell you, without getting into the details, I can just say by looking at it right now, this looks phenomenal. Like,
It's pretty
folks have done-
comprehensive. Yeah, we did.
It's really, and I think that's what we had discussed, that we don't have to get everything all said and done before,
Right.
taking some action. I
Right.
think this looks
Yeah,
great.
but there's actually quite a lot going on in our state. I mean,
There really
almost
is.
every link is very much Massachusetts specific or even Grafton, it's very local. It doesn't send people far and beyond, what Massachusetts offers, but we have a lot. We have a lot in Massachusetts. So let me go through again. What we're focusing on is kind of the conceptual categories and whether we've captured everything. The verbiage probably needs some editing, like literally Rob and I just we copied from the website. Like, where's the
Yep.
mission statement? What do they say they do? Tried to make it clear. Anyway, let's go through it at a kind of high level. So ask it a question. And then there's accessing support for municipal meetings. And we need some language here. Again, we don't have it, but how do you request an accommodation, etc. Getting closed caption for GCTV. Again, we need that content here. So those sort of I thought were the good sort of top of the list kinds of things. The rest, we can think about the order. So the next category is the ADA and disability rights, and we have several links within here. Disability related legal assistance, report a concern or abuse, and again, several different resources here. I'll go back into them, but let's just go through the high level categories. Community and independent living supports for children and adults. Rob, this is where I put the federation, may or may
Yep.
not be the right label
I love it.
here.
Oh, that's good.
It was a little bit of, it's a bit of a catch-all. It's got several things in it. Financial supports, health insurance, disability benefits. I added SNAP. We hadn't talked about that, but so many people, obviously SNAP's a low income program, but I thought it was appropriate. Housing, accessibility and universal design, employment services and supports, educational supports, Massachusetts disability serving agencies. This is very much the state agencies, transportation and mobility resources. That's it. So those are our high level categories. And then within, so let's, anybody immediate reaction to that? I think you have to look at the content to say whether they make sense, but those are our high level categories. So within ADA and disability rights, I included a link, we included the links to the ADA and the New England ADA Center, how to file an ADA complaint, and the MOD. So because
Could I
Yeah.
interrupt you for just 1 second, Alexis? So just one thing just to point out as folks are sort of envisioning some of this. So all that bit all in the brackets with the actual link would be a hyperlink
right,
that's connected to
So
what
the-
you actually see in italics.
yeah.
Just so again, sort of visually, you can start getting that idea that you're not going to
Right,
actually
right,
see all
right.
that, but
Right. So it would be here. This would be the link. The italicized thing would be the link. It would be a hyperlink. So you wouldn't see these.
Right.
And then a little bit of a description, and then it would take you right to that site. So we're trying to keep, what you see on, you go from the main sidebar to our, here's the ADA and disability rights. It's a limited amount of verbiage to explain what it is. Live link, accurate link to get you to the site. Okay, so we've got the ADA, support for concerns related to ADA can be obtained from New England ADA Center. So again, sort of getting to the Massachusetts specific stuff, how to file an ADA complaint. We probably need a little verbiage here that we don't have. Bob said he would do that. So it's good to assign things to people who aren't here. Hey, you missed the meeting? You get an
he was
assignment.
there for the assignment.
He was there. For
Yeah.
the assignment. He was. MOD, again, verbiage is basically right from their website. I took a little liberties just for length to,
Yep.
edit a little bit. So disability related legal assistance and report a concern or abuse. So how to report abuse, neglect for an adult with a disability, the Disabled Persons Protection Commission for kids, DCF, how to report to DCF, the Disability Law Center, what they do. It's the Protection and Advocacy Agency for Massachusetts. And I added the Mental Health Legal Advisors Committee, which is a nice group that helps people involved with the mental health system get access to mental health services. It's a group of lawyers. So that's what we've got there. This community independent living supports is a bit of a catch-all, and I sort of went back and forth, Robin, whether this
No, but I
works,
think
but
it-
that is
yeah.
where I put the federation. So that's got the kids stuff. I put independent living centers here broadly, and then say, with 11 LILCs, the one in Worcester is the closest to Grafton. These two, finding caregivers for people with disabilities, there's really two sources here. It's the PCA Workforce Council. PCA is personal care assistant, a personal care attendant workforce, which is specific for Mass Health members. So that's if you're on Mass Health PCA and you qualify, not to get into the weeds, but the site does get into the weeds. So if you're a person with a disability who's in Mass Health, who needs hands-on physical assistance, you may be able to access PCA services, and the PCA Workforce Council both trains, sort of works to ensure the quality of the workforce and helps to connect people who want to be PCAs with people who want to hire PCAs. So we have a consumer-directed PCA program in Mass Health where people hire their own PCAs, and this is a linking service. There's also one called Rewarding Work. It's similar. It's a little bit different. It seems like it's very DDS specific, which I think this organization, it's evolved a little bit over time, but there are two. So it's like, if you need a caregiver for a family member with a disability, if you need a caregiver for a person with disabilities, these are two resources. And then in here, I also put Reequipment, which is a durable medical equipment reuse program, and Mass Match, which is an assistive technology resource to help get assistive technology into consumers' hands, into the hands of people with disabilities. So I grouped those all under community living. It's pretty broad.
Yeah, but it's a good catch-all. I like it, Alexis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You might not think, and there may be a few things where we want to put it in both, in broad, these sub areas don't have to live just under one main heading. They could be under more than one. So financial supports, we have the connector, connecting to health insurance. There's how to apply for Social Security, disability insurance, and SSI. Which, this gets you to more the federal site, but then in Massachusetts, to go through disability determination, there's a Massachusetts specific site as well. And then I included SNAP since it is a federal program, but it's so many people with disabilities are in a low income category, they might qualify. So those all seem to go together. Housing, accessibility, and universal design. This is where Bob needs to add our architectural board access, architectural access board information. Grafton Housing Authority, not that impressed with their website. There's not that much there. Sorry to say. It doesn't, I'm like, where's the missions? There's not that much in the Grafton Housing Authority website. I mean, there's one there, but it doesn't say a lot. So I like clicking around, like, is there any verbiage I can borrow? I looked for that one this afternoon. So we might need to make up or get something there, but it doesn't, there's not that much there. There's the home modification loan program. And then I put Institute for Human-Centered Design in here, which is also the home of the ADA Center. But Institute for Human-Centered Design is really, they do really awesome work, both with designers about making built environments, they are really nationally recognized for their kind of universal design principles applied to design and built environments. And so, they do, if you're building, you need accessibility things in your home, or you need equipment, or, they're really an awesome organization. So I got
I
that.
like the that 8C, the home modification loan program. That's
Yeah.
one of the little known things that could be really a game changer for some people.
Yeah.
Having a no interest loan, and
Yeah.
knowing that modifications can be expensive. I like this one in particular because it's one of the best kept secrets around, I think.
Yeah.
So-
So employment services and support. So obviously Mass Rehab Commission. I went specifically to the VR page. That's, Mass Rehab does a lot, and so they're also in the state agency list, but this is VR. So it's about, what they do for job seekers. Mass Hire, which is not disability specific, but I think a lot of people use the career centers. This is the broad category for the Massachusetts Career Centers, which offer employment and training for any kind of job seeker. But, a lot of people with disabilities do use the career centers. And so then, we put the one that's closest to Grafton, which is in Worcester. Work Without Limits, my personal favorite, because they're a great organization. And then I put in here also information about what happens, again, the verbiage, sort of has to be right, but working and earning while you're on SSI, SSDI, or other benefits. So there are 2 counseling programs in the state. One is run by Mass Rehab. The other is run by Work Without Limits, that are benefits counseling programs, which is not so much getting you on benefits, but once you have earnings, what happens to those what happens to your disability benefits once you start having earnings, and how do you navigate the complexities of that so that you can make an informed decision. And both programs really focus on helping people move out of poverty. Not so much just retain their disability benefits and stay, and work a limited amount, but even navigate to full employment where they may go off disability benefits, but really help them navigate that process, because it's something that creates a lot of anxiety for people. So that's the employment supports. Education supports, we've got Grafton Public Schools Office of Special Ed, Mass, DESE, Grafton Special Ed Parent Advisory Council. And then Christy, you have an assignment here, something about community colleges. Community college, Christy.
We stopped there. Sorry,
We
Christy.
said, okay,
That's
Christy will
okay,
know.
I can do that.
Yeah. But so it's not just school age kids, and maybe, we want to make that clear. It's educational supports for learners of all age or something like that. And actually, I don't know whether we should have something in here as we're talking. I'm thinking about it, early intervention services.
Yeah, DPH, and
EI
yeah,
should
without
be
question.
in here.
Yep. I wholeheartedly think so. Yep.
Yeah. So maybe it's like educational supports for learners of all age or something like that.
Well, can I tell you one thing I appreciate about this list, Alexis, is that you and Rob and Bob did not choose to do the obvious, which is roll out a list of 50 disabilities and link them. I mean, that could be such an easy temptation to fill it.
Oh,
And it's
yeah.
like, that's not what we are. A municipal. We're not disability information. This is such truly resource for services, not resource on information, and I appreciate this.
Oh, yeah. We, this is not about us. And also virtually all of this, it's not condition specific. It's not, in the state agencies,
The next section is, yeah.
Most of this is like any type of disability. These are resources that anybody might need.
Right.
And I think we want to sort of say, we're here to support our community, and individuals with disabilities who need support. And here are resources that we're aware of that may be helpful to you.
I would add that seizing the moment when we do finalize what we will put up on the our web page, to ask, you know, have the subcommittee be put on the select board agenda to introduce it to the community. I think we probably are unaware how many people silently, you know, are frustrated seeking out this very information. I think this is going to be a game changer for a lot of people to capture this stuff all in one place.
No, Alexis, before you start to, Roger, to piggyback on that, I actually, because we had talked about this, I think briefly in the last meeting as well, sort of an announcement. I did reach out and ask Bob Ditoma about us doing a little interview, infomercial, whatever you want to call it, to again, do exactly what you just described there, Roger, sort of announce it and get the word out there that we've made updates. This thing, this might actually be something that can help you even if you've looked at it before, it's different now. We've done X, Y, and Z. And try to invite people to use it a little bit more. And he definitely was all for it. So.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
And I made a note to myself as you were talking about the new veterans agent. We don't have anything on here about veteran services, and so I thought we've got to get that in here as well. And maybe it goes under disability serving agencies.
Do we have, so Roger, what does the town have for veteran services? Do we have a?
All right, so I don't know if it's a duplication. We had originally had a veterans agent, then we regionalized it. And then this is 3-year or so grant, I think it's a federal grant, where we now have a dedicated agent to Grafton, but I don't know if the regional resource went away or is in addition to this person. And so I have not perused the web page of, for veteran services. But yeah, it's certainly worthwhile to put a link on there.
And, veterans, disabled veterans, I don't, I don't know that world that well, but, there are, where do we?
I mean, since we have a department for veterans services and we have a veterans agent, yeah. And then the same with Council on Aging and Senior Center. There's a huge, I mean, the incidence of disability among that age group served. That could also be a link internally to our Grafton Council on Aging.
Well, and also younger. I mean,
that's true. Yeah.
Younger veterans. So then we've got, the Massachusetts Disability Serving Agencies. So we've got MCB, MCDHH, sorry, I'm talking in alphabet soup, Mass Commission for the Blind, Mass Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, Department of Mental Health, Department of Developmental Services. We included here the Autism Resource Center at HEMA, HM. Yeah.
HMEA, yeah.
HMEA. DPH's BSAS, Bureau of Substance Abuse, Substance Addiction Services, MRC again, Grafton Board of Health. Sort of there, didn't seem like wasn't sure where else to put it, but kind of worked there. And then Transportation and Mobility Resources. So this is, Worcester Regional Transit Authority, Mass Mobility, and, through the RMV, how to get plates and placards, disability, handicap plates and placards. Do we still handicap plate, or is it disability?
It is actually handicap, which we'll come to here in a little bit, but
yeah. So that is it. That's everything that we have pulled together so far.
I really like it.
Yeah. So I mean, Alexis, definitely. Say again.
Few things we've talked about. Something for veterans, early intervention.
Yeah.
Anything else that people see as a big omission? Christie?
Two suggestions. One would be genesisclub.org.
Yeah,
And the similar one that's on Shrewsbury Street, Kiva, K-I-V-A.
Oh, yeah.
Center. They're
Yep,
both very similar, but I think those would be the two mental health
yeah, for sure.
supports to include.
Yeah, and Kiva's
great.
is a consumer-run organization,
Yeah.
so yeah, they're a recovery learning community, so those are both great. And Genesis, of course.
And those were the only two. Like I think you guys did amazing. I really do. This is great.
Great. Would we put them in? So, you know, it might be
Community, yeah,
community living and
community.
independent. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's where they would go.
Yeah.
Because it's a little heavy on the physical disability side, and I love having Genesis and Kiva in there
Okay.
for that are also community and independent living. Other? Anything else we're missing? I was wondering whether
For
for
internal,
people in the deaf community, is there something besides MCDHH? Like, is there? And I don't know, you know, is there an organization that people would go to other than MCDHH?
There would be, but it's like it's profession specific, like the deaf
Yeah.
student, I mean, the Deaf Nurses Association, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
So I can't think of anything off the top of my head,
Okay.
but that's where we'll ask the community what their
Yes.
thoughts are.
For sure. And something too, we've talked about certainly in the subcommittee is we can always add to it.
Yeah, there's Deaf Inc., which I don't know a lot about. I just was Googling it on my phone. I've only heard about it. It's in Boston. So I don't know too much about it, but anyway. All right, so I will add for sure Genesis, Kiva.
Do you want me to put together a DPH?
Yeah, so the veterans, I don't know exactly what to use for veterans and early intervention.
I'm happy to do the EI. I can do the
Okay.
vets if you want as well.
Okay.
Between our, like, I think, and Roger, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's a commission or a committee in town, right?
Veterans Advisors, the Veterans Advisory Commission or a committee?
Something like that, yeah. So maybe it's just sort of links to those internal resources, you know, within the town and then let them, because I think they'll know better.
And then to apply for early intervention services, what do you got?
It's DPH, yeah, I can.
DP, okay, all right.
Yeah, you can get I mean, usually it springs from the doctor and they'll
They'll
give you the information on who directly to contact, but I can definitely pull some of that up.
okay. But you don't need a physician referral, right, to request early intervention assessment, do you?
You don't need one, no.
Yeah,
It can help, yeah.
yeah,
So regarding veterans though, on their veteran services on the webpage, it still takes you to the link to westboromass.gov for the Central Mass Veterans Service District. So so if we're going to cross-reference something internally, the Veterans Services needs to be updated at the town level.
Yeah, the Veterans Advisory Committee though.
Right, as a committee, right. In other words, that was under the departments. And then, but the Veterans Advisory.
Boards and committees.
Right, and so under boards and committees, but under departments, it still takes you to the regionalized services. So I don't know whether that's actually still active, and we happen to be lucky to have now a local person in addition, whether that replaces a regional model, I don't know.
I can ask William,
That'd be great. Thank you.
right? That's an easy question, I'm sure, for him to answer.
Yes.
So I think what Alexis, Bob, and I had anticipated was, we wanted to do the review today, get some extra feedback, make some additional updates, finish up any loose ends that I think each of us had, maybe not Alexis, but the other two of us had a couple little things that we wanted to tidy up or still needed to add in. And then we wanted to bring it back next month, and then assuming everyone felt good with it here within our commission, I think then the next plan was to, bring it up with William and Evan, kind of walk through it with them a little bit, talk about it, see if they have any feedback, and then, submit it to them, hopefully for posting. And again, it can be, sort of a living, breathing thing that we can always, we find out about a new resource or a new agency that's out there that really, should be shared with the community. We can always have that added to the website, but we don't want to wait forever and not share all the rest of this in the interim. So.
And Mr. Chair, if I could add, just as a reminder, when we changed our charge last July, we had removed the language that all right, so the select board appoints us, and then it's somewhere along the line, the charge maybe back in 19 had said that we report to the select board through the town administrator. So that language was stricken. So
you're right.
So it's not so much for permission, but for feedback. On and such.
And then we would need to present to the select board based on that, or
no? I would think that we wouldn't necessarily. I don't know if there's even a select board policy regarding web content.
Yeah, I mean, Evan and William will know. So we can ask them as part of the feedback, right? Whether we need to take it to the board.
Yeah, I think it would be a nice gesture. I think that they might kick it back to us regarding expertise and wouldn't necessarily dive into corrections or recommendations in the same way that they really gave us positive feedback when we went in front of them last July regarding the subcommittee to change the charge.
Yep.
And that I think it would probably pass through unopposed, but I think it would be even if it's not mandated, it would be a really good exercise to go through to really introduce this to the community.
Right, it'll serve that purpose too.
Yeah, and also demonstrate that we're still a very active committee. There's a lot of committees that lose their momentum, and we are not one of those committees. So we keep things moving along.
How would
certainly try.
How would we get input from the community from, giving people with disabilities or others an opportunity to sort of look at this and comment? How would that happen? And what we do that to the select board after?
So I don't think there's one absolute way. We certainly, by just encouraging people on the website, even once it's posted, we can add a line. If you have other suggestions or et cetera, we can certainly just do that. But for next meeting, we can include, we'll have this as an agenda item again, for the subcommittee update, and we can include in the packet basically our sort of final, I'll call it, or final draft of our suggested updates that we'll be discussing. And that certainly gets posted, and everyone would be welcome to come to this meeting next month and provide feedback then and there. I mean, I'd certainly, anyone who wanted to submit it via email or whatever other format, I'd certainly be happy to certainly hear that as well. But yeah, I think those are probably the two main avenues. And if we do take it to the select board as well, Roger, right, there would also be an opportunity for the public to comment on that during the process.
Absolutely, yes, because it would be in the not only on the agenda but the meeting packet, so that people could actually see as part of the select board meeting packet for that evening our I guess cover letter and recommendations in advance. So,
but it's a great point, Alexis, and I think the the more feedback we get from the more people, you know, it's just going to make it better,
Yeah,
in my opinion. So,
for sure.
yeah, but like I said, that might be a really great thing for us to actually include verbatim, you know, down at the bottom of the list. You know, if you have other suggestions, please, you know, click
Yeah.
here and send them to us or reach out.
Awesome. I'm
Very
impressed.
good.
This would have
Aw,
taken me
thanks.
forever. See, this is the thing about having a group of people coming together that have different talents and backgrounds and resources, you know, and such, that this is something I could have never done. You know what I mean? Certainly not in the time frame that you've tackled this.
Not in isolation, but yeah,
Group effort, and I've spent the last, 25 years in this world, so. And we have a lot, I think we should be proud of Massachusetts, so, we have a lot of
Amen.
resources,
Right.
and. You kind of get to know the cool things that are out there that, some of them are like, not necessarily super well known, like.
like you said, the
Design.
the home modification loan
The home
program, that was one of those
modification
ones.
for that,
Yeah.
mass match, do you want to get connected to assistive technology? How do you find that? I think there's some really hidden gems in our state that, some people know about. I think if you're connected to the disability community or the advocacy community, but there's a lot of people who are not just sort of connected to independent living centers or advocacy groups or that kind of thing. They're just living their lives and they don't know that these resources are out there.
Agreed. Very good stuff. But thank you, Alexis, for going through all of that.
Well,
That's a
thank
lot.
you, Rob. You did a huge amount too.
Oh.
So,
Of course, happy to. Teamwork. Yay.
Awesome.
All right.
It's amazing how much can get
so-
done on the
yeah.
subcommittee level. So,
Yeah, yeah. And just as a sort of a quick outstanding too, we had not heard back from Bob. I know he was going to check with Kathy about the subcommittee requirements for
we don't have
agendas
notes.
and minutes. We
We
don't
don't
have great notes. We can easily put them back together, I'm sure.
yeah, about about like posting. I honestly, it's possible that there are a lot of subcommittees that have been meeting without really adhering to any of those guidelines. If in fact subcommittee work is required to be posted and follow all the other parts of the open meeting law. The thing I will mention is that if that were a requirement, it would make it so hard for a committee of 3 to get their job done, because just 2 people speaking with one another would be a quorum. And so I've always found that interesting about subcommittees that are oftentimes maybe 2 or 3 people, that they must have at least a couple of people to maybe communicate, to sort of organize things. But, that was Bob's from last meeting.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. And I know too, with the center, kind of running on a skeleton crew or closed or whatever officially it is, I know things are a little bit off right now. So
I think the town
Yeah,
hall
so-
is open again Monday, is it? The 31st?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was listed through tomorrow as being closed. So, and probably we'll have resolution for Paul next week based on that. That's my guess. All right. And Roger, not to, beat you over the head and make you keep talking a lot since you aren't the chair anymore, but moving on to old business. We have the draft and bylaw study committee. So it's one of those, I don't even know where to begin. So there was information in the packet. I don't know if everyone got to look at it, but it was email correspondence between Mike Kennedy, Jeff Dugan, and really Roger. I just got CC'd on the last couple emails. And then David Robbins was the other sort of person from the bylaw study committee. So there were a couple and Roger, please definitely correct me if I misspeak on any of this, but there were a couple bylaws in particular they wanted us paying closer attention to and looked specifically to our commission for some feedback on. And we had decided last meeting or maybe the meeting before to reach out to Mike and Jeff specifically because of their expertise on some of those to get their feedback. They were kind enough to eventually provide some feedback to us. And I know the really short version was things like, we don't use the word handicapped anymore unless we're specifically referring to the Massachusetts general laws where that is the language in the law. Otherwise, we don't use that. So we should change those. I think all of us probably knew that one already, but it was definitely a good prompt. What were the others, Roger?
No, okay, so
Yeah,
one
hold
of the
on.
things I did is, so I've run out of colored ink, and so I printed out the packet.
Oh, fun.
And I don't have the colored version. I don't have the online version. So there were strike throughs and things in red and such.
Yep.
And maybe backing up a second, one of the
Oh, yeah.
things that didn't get answered, and all right, so there's all these recommendations of,
Yep.
of what could be changed, what could be stricken, what could be added. And one of the things that they didn't answer, and maybe rather than reinvent the wheel and go back and ask them again, is taking these sections, Article 12, 21-1 through 21-4, read as a whole, to the extent that we do our best to avoid duplicating Massachusetts and federal regulations and repeat them in our general bylaws. You know, do you feel safe that these sections could be stricken in their entirety? And that's a discussion I had with David Robbins, who's chair bylaw study committee, that rather than really cut and paste and change these bylaws in many different ways, sometimes we look at these things and removing them all together would not take away from anything, because in their entirety they may be duplicative. And so I with their short time frame, their window, they're finalizing their recommendations to be included as a single document at fall town meeting. And so they're looking for their final draft is going to be made public maybe before our August meeting. So I don't know, to the rest, you know, through you, Mr. Chair, what everyone else feels like, whether it may be premature for us to dive into, you know, modifying these sections, or actually going back to Mike and Jeff and asking their opinions specifically, taken as a whole, sending them the document again, but striking out the other documents that kind of tailed on the beginning and end.
Yeah.
From the other bylaws that they started
Right.
talking about. Would, taken as a whole, are these duplicative of state and or federal law or regulations? If they come back and say yes, then it may be as simple as us telling the bylaw study committee that between our own review and their input, these are duplicative, and it is our recommendation that these sections be stricken in their entirety. End of story. That is one route that I think may be the easiest, even though we're on a tight time frame.
Got it. And yeah, I'm certainly happy to do that. More than
I didn't want to take over the conversation, so through you.
No, it's fine, because you were the only person in the weeds on this one before.
Oh,
so.
okay. Yeah.
I think anyway,
Mike was pretty busy and he wasn't getting back to me. Great guy, but he wasn't getting back to me. So that I gently nudged him and he's like, yeah, by all means, I don't have a problem with CCing Jeff Dugan and William Joyce. So William didn't get back to us. Jeff did.
Right. Forgot about that too. But so happy to do that, assuming they're not duplicative.
Oh, right.
In the event that
it's a lot to bite in. It's a lot to dive
it
into.
is. It definitely is. So I guess though, given the timeline that you've suggested, do you think we would have time to talk and discuss all of that next month and get that information back to Dave within the timeline that they need?
So I don't know, but I will add that there are, to the extent that they were really trying to tackle everything as one document, there's always a possibility, and it doesn't have to necessarily be this October town meeting, but it could be. Any committee or commission can, of their own accord, bring a warrant article to town meeting, even if it's a bylaw change, okay? That doesn't necessarily mean we would find ourselves in a position to be competing with them where they have a whole slew of things and we have one, or at some future town meeting, could be next spring, that we tackle this particular section and basically say, you know, it needs further review by us. In other words, they would defer to us as the experts and not try to tackle that on their own. To address that question, assuming if they come back to us and say, no, it shouldn't be stricken in its entirety. I'm hoping they say it should be, but
Absolutely. Yeah, it just solves the problem. It's a quick email back out to Dave and we're done.
and I'll say the way it's worded currently, aside from the ableist language and everything, that whole section 21-1 through 4 is word salad. I couldn't make, as a reader, as a citizen, I couldn't make heads or tails out of that section.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And the AAB, and one of the two, and I'm forgetting which of the two in their response, made it sound like basically if you need the guidelines, go back to the CMR and get them. So it sounds like most of the stuff is codified already in I think it was the Massachusetts Access Board, or Architectural Access Board, I think was the one that they had referred to.
Right.
Like 521 CMR. So
you know what, too, along those lines, Mr. Chair, I would say that if anything that is regarding parking regulations, either state or federal or anything like that that's contained in the current bylaw, if stricken, could also be contained on our website as a link on what we just discussed, to say, here are the regulations regarding parking and veterans parking and placard parking and this and that, and put a link up there as well. So
very good. The one other part, it sounded like Dave was also asking, so this is sort of, I think, preceded the discussion about the specific like the parking spaces question. He was asking about the color use, the red and green, in the work that they were doing, and that they had a program, and I'm forgetting the name of it, they used where they could sort of view it. The concern was if people who experience color blindness would have trouble following the different recommendations and suggestions. And so they opted to add a strike through to the red so that it clearly looked like it was the language that was going to be removed. But they also ran it through a program that was supposed to sort of reflect what someone with color blindness would see when looking at it the way that it was originally set up. And it was sort of a gray versus a yellow. Is how I would describe it. Again, in the packet, you can maybe see it if you're looking at the colored copies, but it showed it as sort of a gray versus a yellow. So I felt like that with the strike through was sufficient for someone with color blindness to understand what changes were being made, what was being removed, and what was being added. Did anyone else have any thoughts on that or what have you? So we can at least let Dave know that we think that part is okay. Yes.
Yeah. He had watched our meeting and I brought up the idea of red green, and then so that's what I believe prompted that.
Got it.
The only thing I would mention is, and I'm glad that they went to the effort to really tackle that as a process issue, that while they were reviewing it, the whole red green issue, it seemed to me that the portion that were the strike throughs didn't necessarily need to have a gray background, whether you call it contrast or luminance. It was almost like it drowned out the words themselves, that
Below
that
there,
you were
okay.
not only striking it through, but it seems like the strike through would be prominent enough even on a white background, that you didn't necessarily
Right.
need to shade it with anything. That's all.
No, that's fair. I think that's very fair. And you have not responded, just making sure too, I hadn't missed anything earlier on, but we have not responded to him specifically on that question yet. Is that correct?
No, I didn't. Being in transition, with you being chair,
Yeah.
I left that alone. But
No,
he knows
perfectly
that
fine.
you're a new chair.
Yeah.
I-
Yeah, so I'll send the follow-up then, and at least I can let him know about that. And then on the rest of it, just let him know that we're waiting to hear back from the board still and reach back out to the board and the Office on Disability, and just reach back out to those guys again.
Yeah,
Does that
yeah,
seem-
yeah. With the caveat being that I guess that we're still trying to land on seeing whether, or eliciting a yes, no, as to whether they think it's can be stricken in its entirety.
Yeah. Okay. I'm making it so I don't miss any of this.
So Rob, you're gonna follow up
Yes.
with an email or a letter, or what's the,
No, yeah, I had assumed email, but because that's how I got the how we got the letter, Roger, is that correct, or is should it be an actual letter?
Oh, no, I think he was, I've been communicating him. I haven't run into him a lot in person, but I have communicated with him by email about this. I don't think we've.
I thought
um,
I thought he had actually put a letter together for one of the questions.
Oh, hold on a second.
I know that I'm doing the same thing because I just want to make sure it was the memo. So it was a memo on colorblindness accessibility. And then he included that with the examples of sort of how it looks on screen, unfiltered, and then
Oh,
what it would look like. But it was a memo, it wasn't a letter. I was actually thinking it was a formal letter. So I think though, yeah, that's
no, it is July 13th. It's like a form letter
Yeah,
to
memo.
from subject date.
but not signed or anything. So
No,
yeah, so I think I can just respond via email for that then, right?
yes, in other words, the format, about the presentation format. Through you, Mr. Chair, and maybe Chrissy would better know this, about the whole luminance and web content and things like that. There, I guess, is two components. One's going to be what's on the screen, and the other thing is what appears in print, because the town meeting warrant gets printed and handed out at the meeting itself. So, Christy, through you, Mr. Chair, does Christy have any input as far as what
Sure.
she would recommend as a reply regarding what they presented to us regarding the red, gray, and the gray background with the strike throughs?
well, I appreciate this effort and I don't want it to go to naught, and he's on the right track. But now let's think about the reality of how it's going to be used. So if someone were to request a version of these, say if anything for the town meeting packet for October, do we ask people in advance, not only do you need an interpreter, but do you need a large print version of the town meeting warrant? Do you need an accessible screen reader version in advance? You know, do you need one specifically for a person who's colorblind? Now you could make a document that has all those tenets and then just be ready to print if requested. It makes sense for a universal design to incorporate as much of this as possible, so you don't have this version versus that version, you know, put it all together. And so if Dave Robbins is talking about specifically just the bylaw packet, I mean, Roger, how many pages would this be? Not the town warrant with all the list of the warrants for town meeting, but just his information that he's bringing forward for town meeting. Have you seen how big it is or how many pages? I'm trying to.
I would think, I don't know, but I can't imagine that for the matter of clarity, that they're not going to just print the whole bylaw and
That would
then,
be my assumption.
and then show where the strike throughs are.
Yeah,
And the
and there are,
additions and changes.
Yeah,
there are 41 articles and each of them has a draft of some sort. I think very much to Roger's point, and minus, I think there are
Wow.
like 2 or 3 that don't. So I think they'll end up doing exactly what Roger said, because almost everything is affected. They'll just print the whole thing.
No, that makes sense. Okay, so I'm just thinking, if they were to create a digital version, that's easy to manipulate. That's no problem. And then you can send it off as a Word document and the person on the other end can enlarge it, contrast, do all the things they want to do to read it. That makes the most sense. And it would just make sense that, you know, it doesn't even have to be asked for. Just post it on the town website in preparation for the town meeting. Here's the accessible town warrant with the bylaws included, boom, you know, not a PDF, but a Word document and then an accessible PDF, you know, so that way you have some choices for people depending on what version screen reader they're using. But I have to tell you, I applaud Mr. Robbins for even thinking about it. I mean, we're 3 months out and this is a great conversation to be figuring out now.
He said he caught our meeting, so people are watching these meetings after the fact.
Because there's
And
nothing else to do. It's summer. There's no good reruns.
Right, there's a writer's
Totally
strike,
kidding.
so people are watching
Writer's strike.
municipal meetings, you know, we have better content.
There's still plenty of content.
I know. Well, if you're not streaming, there's nothing on TV. I just know
That's
that.
true.
Yeah, unless you're a Jeopardy fan. But I think that you know, this is the example of what I really love to see, which is someone who's thinking ahead, planning, and getting it ready so that it's accessible on the day of the town meeting in October.
So Christy, am I understanding correctly? Your suggestion then is for me to suggest to him that they make basically a Word version of this available in advance. And if people are, you know, some sort of statement saying if anyone would, you know, would like it in advance, or is it right? Is it if they'd like it in advance, or if anyone would like a special accommodation for the meeting packet, please reach out, and then they would just email that off or provide a link. If maybe the size of it might be prohibitive in terms of sending it as a one-off. It might just be on the town website, but
yeah, it might. I think it has to go onto the, I think Candy needs to post it on her town meeting on the clerk's website.
right.
I think that makes the most sense. The only way it could get around that is if it came in a zip file.
right.
So,
Yeah, but if it's up there and downloadable, and then like you said,
Right.
then they can actually make the modifications that they need. But we are all taking a half step back, also in agreement though that there's no reason to do sort of the red highlight plus the strike through. It would just be a strike through is sufficient, and that should be clear enough for everyone.
So that are you also saying, Rob, that no gray background, it's just strike
Well, the
through
gray-
on white background, or no?
So what it was though, Roger, the strike through was over the pink background.
Oh,
And then with the gray that you're seeing though is once it passed through the filter, that's
Oh.
how it would appear to someone who had color blindness.
oh, okay.
So with the gray is actually the pink or red, whatever color we're calling it.
So hoping that someone with color blindness wouldn't also have an issue with luminance. In hoping that they
Yeah.
could see it. For me, it was difficult to read the I call it contrast in lay terms.
Right.
Anyway, but I
No, I
didn't
hear
see
you.
that. So it's, I was able to see it on yellow, but that's okay.
Right, which was the green.
Oh, it was green. Okay.
Right, so that was the green translated.
Oh,
Becomes
okay.
more of a yellow, apparently.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, outside of my area of expertise for sure, but yeah. So when you look, like if you go on the website though, to the bylaw subcommittee or bylaw committee's page where they have all the recommended whatever, and you pull it up, all you see are the pink and green highlights with strike through. You don't
Okay.
see any yellow, you don't see any gray, because I think, like I said, that was that filter or whatever you that they applied, and what the assumption is, what someone with color blindness would see when looking at the pink and the green is actually gray and yellow. If that
Okay.
makes sense.
All right. It makes perfect sense. That went over my head. Okay. I didn't read it enough. So,
No worries. I know yeah. And then the other thing I started thinking about, not to, make this massive whatever, but was just the font. And getting into all that. I know we've had discussions about all those things because all of the new language is all italicized, and they're using, I'm guessing it's a Times Roman. It's PDF, but it looks like a Times Roman where it's got the extra little markers on each letter. So
Yeah, the serifs.
yeah. So I guess the one last question would be, do you think it's worth throwing that out there? I mean, they've got close to 40 documents in PDF form.
Select all, change the font. It's such an easy fix.
Okay.
That would really help me not be annoyed reading, because I can't read Times New Roman. As soon as I get something, I change it and then I read it. Which is why our commission is the only commission that's in Calibri. Everybody else is, even the select board, so it's like reading typewriter to me. I can't read typewriter anymore.
so what font and script? You're saying Calibri, are we talking 11, 12? What
I
usually
put it into 14.
You put into 14, okay. No, but for the
It's just-
bylaws, what has it been in? Do you know?
I don't
Can you
know.
tell?
If I had to guess, I would tell you it's 11 or maybe 12. Oh, it's
11. That's a sin.
it's old bylaws though, right? I
Not
mean,
even
it
number
sort of is.
though. Not even number
you-
makes my brain feel icky.
Here, hang on one second.
Actually, I
guys.
think it might even be looking at it right now. It might even be lower than 11.
It could be. So here,
if it's-
can you guys see this?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
So I don't even know which one this is. I quite literally just randomly clicked on one just to confirm what I was going to say before I said it. But this is it. Like, this is what they all look like. No matter which one you click on, it's that same font, the same coloring. The only difference would be there are some where the green highlighted text is written in italics on some that I have seen. Oh, that's why, because I pulled up the wrong thing. So this was the filtering that I'd mentioned, or was it Roger and I were talking about.
Okay.
So everything you see here in gray is what was here in pink.
Okay,
So
that's a
I'm sharing
duplicate. Okay,
yeah, that's a duplicate. I'm actually sharing the wrong screen. And hold on. I have to actually stop. It won't let me pick a different screen. Sorry, folks.
It could be worse. It could be worse, but
Right. Oh, which one is it? It's not the Adobe, this one. Here we go, folks. All right. No, it went back to the same one.
It actually looks bigger
Yeah.
here, but it might just be the way it's zoomed.
Oh, that could be. Okay, are you guys seeing the one that says work within a public street?
yes.
Yes, okay, thanks,
Yeah.
Catherine. Just making sure, yeah, two different screens going, so when it moved me up to the top. So these green, this is what I was talking about, where some of the green text or the green highlighted text is in italics, which I think just makes it even like that much harder on top of the actual font. But like I said, that to me, like when I look at that seems like 11 or 12 point font to me. I mean, it's a filled out page. There's no margin. So. Yeah, but
So
that's
you're
sort of
going
what I
to
guess.
recommend, are you going to recommend a number and then Calibri? Or is that our consensus or no?
Yeah, unless someone has a better.
For font,
Yeah,
changing the font and the type, I mean, it's Times New Roman. That's Times New Roman.
right. But Calibri seems like the most user friendly. Is that the consensus?
That or Arial.
Yeah, Ariel's good too. Give them a choice and let them decide. That way it doesn't
Exactly.
look like we're heavy-handed, even though we are.
And making sure it would be, you would suggest a 14-point font for both of those, or is that dependent on which
For
one
readability.
it's just 14, okay.
So you're talking about the
Perfect.
whole document? In other words, aside from changes, everything would need to be in the best font and script possible. So are we saying that it should be 14 Calibri
Or Arial.
or
Yeah,
Arial? Yeah,
If it's not being printed, doesn't matter.
right. Okay.
well, yeah.
More paper.
The font, I feel like the font selection matters a little bit more maybe than the size then, right? I don't know, some of that gets,
Are we saying we want people to be able to make it a larger font on their own copy if they're gonna get it ahead of time?
yeah, I think that
Or
was the,
magnifying software, yeah.
yeah. So if you make it downloadable, basically, when we get to posting, that, yeah, people can just download it and, like you said, manipulate it however they'd like, but yeah, so I'll just sort of say that, these are the things we would suggest, and obviously they can choose to do what they want with it, but they've asked, so. Happy to share the information. Excellent, and I did stop the sharing, right?
We don't see it anymore.
Are we back? Okay, thank you. Just making sure, because again, with the screen swapping, sometimes I'm not quite sure what everyone else is seeing and what I'm seeing, so. All right, so I have a couple follow-ups. Christy, you have all that?
I tried to get it. I think I do.
So I'm going to follow up with David specifically on that question about the colors, but I'll add in all the information that we just discussed about the font itself as well. And then I'll also let him know that we're kind of going back and forth with MOD and the Mass Architectural Board to get a better indication whether or not these the specific bylaws they asked us about are duplicative with either state or federal ones, and basically that we'll let them know as soon as we can.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect.
And then obviously the follow-up emails back out, conversations back out to both Mike and Jeff accordingly. All good, Christy?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Yeah, so I know that was a lot. We were all over the place. Sorry.
And if you could, Rob, about and maybe this would be the edit or copy and paste feature. It was clear that we were talking about 21-1 through 4, and that it was simply like I copied the whole page and then they started commenting on other bylaws.
The alcohol bylaw or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. We're like, it was the next paragraph, the next section, and they started commenting on it. But if you could just like rein them in and just
focus them
and just so remove everything and somehow copy that section as a clip and only that.
Yep.
It seemed like that I didn't need to do that, but I did.
Very clearly, yes.
Yeah.
But no, that's a great suggestion, and yeah, it should be easy enough to do. Yeah, absolutely. All righty, folks. National Night Out is next. Yay! I can't believe, so that's next week. Like, hit me over the head. So Christy, I'll let you kind of take over, but yeah, it sounds like we got a really, really nice response.
Well, we got a nice response, but we're gonna need to do more. So here's the scoop. We need to get there early and set up. And we're gonna need to do some magic in the next 5 days, people. It looks like it's gonna be a nice night. The weather report as of today is cooler weather, less humid, no rain in the forecast. So that means people will be out and about. So right now, I don't have confirmation on any dogs coming, but they have been invited. And this is their usual MO. They'll wait for the weather. They know it's outside. We'll see if they come or not. So I hope to hear, I was hoping to hear by tonight, but so anyways, so here's what we need to know. So do they provide tables and chairs for us to sit in, or how does this look?
We have a table.
Okay.
Chief Crapo, our police chief, he had set aside, he knows, that we have requested, and he confirmed more than once when I've run into him, we have a table. What we don't have is like signage. In prior meetings, I had mentioned that I was going to make an attempt, and among other places, whether like Easter Seals as an example, they're also in the same building as Center for Living and Working, where they had like brochures or things like that, and they had links. I think fewer and fewer agencies are printing brochures for the very reason of not only resources, but things change, and then they quickly become out of date. So I didn't have any printed materials. Maybe on my own dime and my own printer. Do you think it would be helpful to, among other things, maybe have a small stack of our 2022 commission report as at least to or any printing or anything of that nature? I know that people like bling, they like displays, they like food.
Exactly. So I have in my office drawer a roll of silver adhesive ribbons. You know how there's the pink ribbons, the white ribbon, we could hand out ribbons for people to wear, or put someplace, for the night if they want to show support for disability. The silver ribbon is a sign. I mean, there's puzzle pieces. I mean, there's just lots of different things, but the silver ribbon is a ubiquitous sign for disability support. So that would be great. The other question I have, and this is the only low-tech interactive draw to our table I could think of. So I have an art easel, and we could put on one side of the chalkboard, we could put oak tag. We could put oak tag on each side, and one side says ways Grafton is accessible, and on the other side, ways Grafton isn't accessible. And then we could have Post-its, and people could write their idea on a Post-it and put it up and say that's accessible. Take a Post-it, that's not accessible. Like if someone wanted to give a shout out to Silver Lake for being accessible for a wheelchair, write it down, put it up. And then in a way, we're very on the ground, real time gathering data about issues and what we're doing well. So it's like a double, it's like a 2-question survey without being real obvious. And sometimes if we were to have, kids there, I don't know how much time it would take, but we could say, draw a picture of what's accessible in Grafton. Maybe they'll draw a picture of the library. I don't know. But I'm trying to think of ways to get people to at least talk to us, because I think those are the 2 biggest questions we want to gather information on. But we want to make it fun, interactive, and if the Post-its are colorful, that's the only idea I could come up with, because I started worrying about the dogs not coming. What could we do if the dogs don't come? How could we be there? So any thoughts on that idea?
Would we
I
do
really
it
like it.
even if the dogs come?
Yeah.
Even if the dogs come,
We
we'll
do
still do
both.
it. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you bet, Alexis. I'm dragging that art easel out of the garage and getting my
I think it's a great
oak tag.
idea.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Rob.
Oh, please go right ahead, Roger.
No, I was going to mirror that comment, that I love it as well. I think that you sort of flipped it around, and instead of presenting information to people, they present information to us. I think that's brilliant. Certainly at this late hour, or even at any time, that was something I would have never come up with. You know, I think that is a phenomenal way that people like that whole, and you get everyone involved. And so, number one, Christy, to your comment, I can be there like super early, even if, what I would likely do is just work from home that day and then get there super early. Is it 5 to 8?
Yeah.
So
So
how much lead time do you need in advance? And then do we need like one of those upright plastic signs that I could type accessibility, Grafton Accessibility Advisory Commission, so people know that that's our table?
Yep. And if you can get a accessible icon, the newer icon, and put it at the end or at the beginning, or
Are
even
you
the
talking
white,
about the icon or the flag?
the icon.
Which
This-
icon is that?
Well, there's several icons. I was going to say there's the wheelchair icon, there's the white cane icon, there's the interpreter icon. Like pick a bunch and throw them up.
So where are you talking about, stickers or signs? Oh, are you talking about as a,
Just to put it on the sign.
okay.
You're gonna
Oh,
make
on
a
the,
sign?
okay, yes, okay.
Because you're just going to do it in black on white. I mean, because the disability pride, it'd be great for that is if we had an example of one in color and then we handed out blank ones for kids to color and have crayons at the
Okay.
table.
We could even do, Chris, going off that, Christy, we could do like a poster board or something, right? Just black outline it and then leave some
Yeah.
crayons out.
Yep.
So
Or
who
we
has
could
crayons?
bring chalk and we could color stuff on the ground in front of us. Like we could have a lot of fun.
I have a ton of sidewalk chalk.
Bring it.
That, all right.
Exactly,
Alright.
where is our table? Where are we located? I don't want to seem stupid. Where's our table gonna be?
I
No, we
don't
want to
know.
get there early so we can move our table to the best place.
Yeah,
That's a strategy, Roger. If we're not in a good place, you trade places and say, oh,
Okay,
we need to be accessible. We
How
need to
early?
be up front.
how
We
early?
need to be prominent. We need
3?
to have space for the dogs. We need to be near grass, like just, which is all true. I just don't want us in the back. You know what I mean? Like that's not accessible.
Right. Because it can be tight. In other words, we have to be mindful that our own table has enough clearing for people to navigate. So you're saying near grass. I know that some places are more shaded than others.
That would definitely be important.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and let's all plan to bring our own chairs, so that way we can sit, because I don't want to rely on them for chairs. So if we bring our own little folding chairs, and then
beach chair.
beach chair. Is everyone coming? Because I'm taking the afternoon, I'm leaving work early to be there. Is everyone else gonna be there?
I
Okay.
count me in.
It's a Tuesday, right? I'm good Tuesdays, so.
Tuesday, I
Good.
think I can be there.
Okay,
Rob, have you posted this as a meeting?
Posted,
Pardon?
sorry, posted what?
Posted this as a meeting. In other words, I know the select board
Oh,
and
yeah.
library trustees have, it's a one line, erase the Zoom thing, one line,
Yeah.
National Light Out, Grafton, the police station, but a lot of it's in front of like the GCTV building, but
Yeah,
I don't know what location you'd put, but just say, attendance at National Light Out, 5 to 8 PM, August 1. And then it would need to be posted by tomorrow. Oh my
Me and
God,
Don.
yeah, I'll do that tonight.
And so, I mean, the thing is, it's not fatal if it's not. It's just, it just saves us any aggravation if anyone suggests that we discuss things as a quorum.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, so the select board posted, library trustees is posting, as being present. Just like they do
Perfect,
at
yeah.
town, like at town meeting, finance committee, you know, for town meeting night. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'll get that out tonight. Good
All
problem,
right,
thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so, all right, I'll be there with crayons and sidewalk chalk, and I will make a sign. And you're saying, Chrissy, that if I have the pride, disability pride, and
Yep.
then also have like sheets for people to, kids to color. In other words, maybe I can find one online, like a disability pride coloring sheet.
And
Okay.
then, since Barbie's a hot topic right now, I've always wanted one of these. I don't have one. Does anybody have wheelchair Barbie? Yay!
I do in fact have wheelchair Barbie. I could go get her right now.
Barbie.
She's in the other room. She's technically my mother's, but I'm sure she'll let me.
Wanted one. I've always wanted one. Okay.
You just
I
better
bought
put
it
her
like
in
the
a
week it
safe
came out.
place. You don't want anybody walking
Okay.
away.
Okay, so
I-
people, we're
I want
wearing
to see
pink.
this.
We're wearing pink.
I'm going to see it tomorrow night. I already have my
Yeah.
ticket.
It's so
It's
good.
a-
Bring
it's a-
tissues.
yeah.
I wept. a little
Okay.
bit.
So we're gonna wear pink. We're gonna have the silver ribbons, and we're gonna have
Mhm.
wheelchair Barbie, and we're gonna have people who want to talk to us.
Yeah.
This is gonna be awesome. Oh, this is so cool. Okay, Rob,
Yes,
extra points if you dye your hair blonde
yeah, not
and
gonna
come
happen.
dressed in pink,
You
and
can be Ken.
and then
Terrified.
sign autographs, Ryan Gosling.
I'm terrified. If I were to dye my hair at this age, I don't think I would have any more. I don't think it would survive it.
Yeah.
So through
Um,
you, Mr. Chair, Christie, what time, what time is? do you
Oh,
need
I'm
people?
gonna be there at no later than 4:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be, all right, you know, I'll be there by 4,
Okay.
just to stay.
I might stop by on my way home from work, check things out, and then go grab even more stuff.
Okay.
So I'll put
Right.
stuff in my car Monday night, so I'll just have it with me.
Thank you, Christy. Christy, do you have pins for the ribbons?
No, it's self-adhesive.
Oh,
Okay.
Super
We don't
cool.
have to have like,
Yeah, so you just pull them off the
We need things-
roll and people stick them on.
awesome.
Yeah, yep. So in fact, I'll put that on my calendar right now for work, so I'll remember to bring them home. And so- Okay, okay, so
This is
Catherine's got
exciting.
wheelchair Barbie. Does anybody have disability Lego characters?
oh God, I probably do, but
I was just gonna say the
Well,
same.
we could
There's a
bring the Big
chance.
Bang Theory, but you know, that's something else. Anyways, okay.
I'll definitely look. Yeah. Probably stepped on it
Okay.
at some point.
I am so
sounds
impressed with
good.
you, Catherine. I mean, I'm just so
great.
impressed.
I got it like the week it came out. So in
I
like
know, and then we
2019,
couldn't get it. Yeah, yeah. And you-
I went to
it's
the
very
Walmart
hard.
and I bought it specifically.
Yeah,
So
You know
you're
what?
offering it for a
Representation matters
raffle.
because
it does. It does.
she,
Yep.
she was
So-
very excited about it.
So you're offering this as a raffle?
No, it is my mother's. We
No.
cannot.
No, in
No,
No, it
fact,
is
you gotta
technically
have
not
it
mine.
like,
we can
you gotta
let
have
people
somebody
take
guarding it at all
Oh, my
time.
God.
People can take pictures with it, but they cannot touch it. Catherine,
she-
we've got to be,
I don't know where the ramp is, but she did come with her own ramp, which I thought was adorable.
Oh,
yes.
So yeah, to make the dream house accessible.
Oh,
and
that's
and she is
awesome.
in the movie. That's not a spoiler, but she does show up. So
Well, you know, it's funny because the American Girl doll, they have one who's deaf, but yeah, we'll think of that. We'll think.
I can imagine it's probably a lot easier to make a mold for just the hearing aids than it is for make a whole
Yeah,
different
yeah.
mold for the wheelchair. So it makes sense.
Okay, so if anybody goes near a toy store this weekend, not only Barbie, but if you see any doll with a handicap, that's unfortunately a visual one, grab it.
Right.
Roger will reimburse you. Okay, so
Good
that sounds
stuff.
good.
I
Yeah,
love it.
Because we want to get people to talk to us, you know, so.
Really good ideas. Way to go, Christy.
Yeah. Oh, I love doing these events. If I could do this for a living, just a sideline as a side gig someday, who knows? But
Mhm.
I'm telling you, Catherine, you just, I'm telling you,
Yeah, that'll be a huge draw, telling you. Huge draw.
it will be.
Alrighty, folks. All right, Grafton Common, including exterior parking pavement. Just quick, so I know Scott, who had joined us last meeting, did reach out, right, Roger, to
Yes.
Evan and I believe William. I sent a follow-up email as well, just noting his, voice concern during our meeting, etc. I haven't heard anything, so I'm guessing they're dealing with whatever else right now with the parking lot and all that, but
Mr. Chair, as an advisory commission, I think we leave it at that. I mean,
That's-
Scott, as an advocate, he put it out there. He
Yep.
joined us. He went to Evan, CC'd the state. We recognize that there's an issue there. Let's hope
Yep.
that they roll with it.
exactly.
I went up to look at it because I live
Yeah, I
right
did
off the
too.
common. I went up and I took some pictures of it. It's pretty rough. That one
Yeah.
parking spot right off the common. He's definitely within his rights to complain about it. It is not even, it's very wavy, it's cracked.
Or agree. I know Roger, I think it sent me pictures right after, but I did end up, we were up there for something I don't know, within the last couple of weeks. And yeah, I had the same feelings about it. I mean, it was like there was like 6 inches,
Yeah, yeah.
of
It's like-
difference between the two different
Yeah,
levels at spots. So very pronounced and
Yeah.
would definitely be a
If you're using
difficulty.
a chair, if you're using a chair, it is not a good
Right,
place.
and that was one of the other things I kept thinking about was it would be right behind where the like driver would be getting out,
Yeah,
is right where the worst part of it is. So
yeah, exactly.
And then there's a
It's
Which is-
tripping hazard. There's like a
Yeah.
3-inch, because of the caving in. So it's a
Yeah.
crater with a tripping hazard. Is it a gas pipe or gas line, or is it water?
I
Whatever.
don't even know.
It's
Yep.
broken off, so it's chipped, and then it's about a couple of inches
Yep.
or more above the surface. So it's also a tripping hazard, and it's not exactly smooth. I wouldn't want to drive over it with my tire.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, no, it's not good.
And I'm sure it's well on their radar since Scott CC'd the state, so. All right, folks, any other old business items that I am not thinking of?
I have one. I don't want to interrupt anyone. Just as a follow-up, I think I mentioned it earlier, everything is, I discussed it at the last meeting, but all the charge and everything has properly been changed on the webpage.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for following up. I actually had seen that as well. Thank you for
Yeah,
mentioning it.
William Blake really appreciated that. I had walked him through the whole process and gave him the link and exactly what needed to be done, and he rolled with it. The other thing is Montgomery Wood, Grafton Land Trust at the bottom of Wheeler Road. They're almost done their accessibility project.
Oh,
It
wow.
looks amazing. It was this rolled
That
out
is
matting.
I was just there the other day. It's like wide and it's got this, what
It's
is
like
that?
It's a rolled out mat that has a certain
Yeah,
type of
it's got-
stones that are, I don't know what to describe them as, but they're naturally linking to each other.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
naturally congregate better than just like pea stone.
Yeah,
And so they grab.
yeah, you can tell that it was very smooth. We just took a walk there the other day and it's like, wow. this
Oh,
is-
that's exciting.
They spent the land trust spent about 20 grand between legal fees and design and, product, to make that an accessible grade. So
Mhm.
I would invite anyone to go down there, and it looks phenomenal. They just widened it, and it's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really nice.
Really good stuff. All right, folks,
Awesome.
our next meeting is scheduled for, well, I'm sorry. Was there any other new business that I'm counting? No, okay. Our next meeting will be August the 17th at 6:30, if all goes well. And one thing also I will throw out, I know Bob was missing tonight because he's in his sign language class. He's going to continue taking those, but this is like a short summer session. And then I think he'll have a short break, and then he is not sure in the fall what day the class will be on. So he did say, that maybe we'll need to reconsider what night we meet. or at least to open up the conversation about that if his class is looking like it's going to be long-term on Thursday night. So whether that's us adjusting when we're able to meet, if we can all make a decision on that, or whether or not the select board needs a different rep on the commission if he's not going to be able to, regularly attend. So sort of put that in the back of everyone's mind for now. But as of today, next meeting, August 17th. And if that is it, I'll happily take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you, Catherine. All right. Is there any conversation? Amen. All right. So then we will.
Roll call, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
yep.
sorry. I thought you were gonna hang
No,
up.
that's quite all right. No, I was just making sure no one had any disagreements about adjourning. All right. So I will start with Alexis,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Christy,
Aye.
Roger,
Aye.
and Rob is also an aye. And with that, we are 5-0. We adjourn for this evening.